Where do we, please discuss the question. Okay, again a sentence connector question, Kevin's question. He made a promise, he kept it. Okay, so let's see what is the answer for this. Options are making, he not only, besides making. Okay, so again we are applying logic, right? So when I say making a promise, he kept it, is illogical, right? He's making the promise right then. So it's like present participle, right? Making something, he needs to make it, and then you can't keep the promise while you're making it, right? Doesn't make sense. So you can eliminate option A. What about option B? Option B says he not only. So here it makes sense. You're saying, hey, this person, usually people, very rarely keep their promises. So he not only made a promise, what will come? But kept it too, right? So here again you are introducing the conjunction but, right? Because that's the only logical way you can connect these two sentences. Right? What about C? Let's put down the sentence and see if it makes sense. Besides making a promise, he kept it. If you're adding also, then delete 2. Okay. Now to look at this one, the second sentence, I'll have to look at besides separately, what meaning it gives, right? Besides actually gives me the meaning of in addition. Besides doing this, he did that also. It also gives me the meaning of as well as. So logically, is the sentence conveying that he made a promise and in addition to that, he also kept it? So going by that logic, right, C also seems fine. Logically, I'm looking at besides as a word, meaning of that word, right? So I'm saying, hey, in addition to making a promise, he kept it. As well as making a promise, he kept it. So having said that, seems like both B and C are making sense. Yeah? And that option is where? In B and C, 4. Besides making a promise, he kept it. Besides making in addition to making a promise, I think we'll have to include what is given here as an option, but we can add other sentences as well. The problem with A is making a promise, he kept it. So for me that sounds a little illogical because you can't keep the promise at the same time you're making it. So that's the only disconnect I have with A. Otherwise, so B and C, which is option 4. No, I'm saying besides, the meaning of besides is in addition or as well. And if I apply that meaning in the context, does it still make logical sense? Yes, it does. We have not replaced besides with addition. I am saying the meaning of besides is in addition to or as well as. So if I am applying besides making a promise, he kept it, what meaning the sentence conveys is in addition to making the promise, he also kept it. Are you following? Sentence connectors. So those of you who are still having doubts with sentence connectors, one more for you. The thief entered the room, he found it empty. Options: entering, although the thief, as soon as. So what do you think is the answer? Option A, obviously, if I have to put down the sentence, I'll say entering the room, the thief found it empty. Does it make sense? Yes, it makes sense. Very logical, right? So the thief is obviously expecting to find something so he can steal, but as the thief entering the room, he's finding it empty. Okay. Although the thief entered the room, he found it empty is illogical, right? Here although is bringing in a contrast, and here the context is only expressing a surprise element. Option B, is it sounding logical for you? Here entering is acting like the gerund, right? Verb plus ing. What did he do? Entering the room, the thief found it empty, which is fine. You don't have to add after, yes. So although, I'll just put on all the sentences, then we'll make sense of it. Although the thief entered the room, he found it empty is illogical, right? This one is illogical, you can quickly eliminate it. Too many L's. The third one, as soon as the thief entered the room, he found it empty. Now the third one, okay, is again not making sense for me. The reason being, when you have as soon as, right, as soon as you do this, when will you use as soon as? What does it express? When you use as soon as only to express that something happens immediately after something else has happened, right? So as soon as he entered the room, he found it empty is not showing or reflecting that something happened, right? For example, if I have to use as soon as in a context, think of example sentences with as soon as. As soon as he left the room, right? If I say as soon as he left the room, the kids switched on the TV, right? In this example sentence, as soon as is used when you are saying that something happened immediately after something else happened. So something happened, the kids switched on the TV, immediately after this guy left the room, right? So in our context, as soon as the thief entered the room, he found it empty. Nothing is really happening here. It was empty. That's about it, right? So for me, this construction, though it looks grammatically fine, logically it's not making sense for me. If the sentence said, as soon as the thief entered the room, people caught him or something happened to him, that makes more sense. I will personally go with, what are the options? I think I'll lean more towards A. I may not go with C. I'm only looking at as soon as a construction and looking at it separately. I'm strictly going by as soon as, that particular construction. That's about it. Maybe we can discuss this a little further with as soon as. Yeah, I personally would, I wouldn't skip it. I'll choose option A. See, to make things easier, if you look at the given two sentences, right, it says the thief entered the room, he found it empty. Two constructions. The logical thing is he doesn't expect the room to be empty, right? So it is only talking about this is what happened. The fact is he entered the room and he found it empty. So A is perfectly fine giving me or expressing that logic which is there in both those simple sentences. He entered the room, he found it empty. So entering the room, he found it empty makes more sense. But although the thief entered the room, he found it empty is illogical. As soon as the thief entered the room, he found it empty is not sitting with me logically, because the expression as soon as always talks about an action happening immediately after the other action. And Kevin also says, as soon as not necessarily at the same time, there's always like a second at least gap. He is in great troubles, he is cheerful. Okay, first of all, I think this is a typo error. He is in great trouble, not troubles, because the collocation is you are in trouble, right? Troubles you can use, it's just a plural form, it means problems, which is fine, but he is in great trouble, he is cheerful. Okay, now let's look at our answer option and see what can be the best. Okay, a lot of you coming back and saying option A, option A, option A, option A, but let's look at option A. If I put option A, beside, we just saw what besides is. Besides being in great trouble, he is cheerful. Now we just saw the meaning of besides, which is what? In addition or as well. Now does this make logical sense? He is cheerful as well as being in great trouble. He is in great trouble as well as he is cheerful. In addition, he is cheerful. It doesn't make sense. Option A is ruled out. You cannot have option A. I was a little alarmed that all of you came back and said A. But we just saw besides. What's the meaning of besides in our previous context, right? In addition, is it making logical sense? No, it's not. How can you say he is in great trouble, also in addition he is cheerful? That doesn't make sense. Second one says since he is in great trouble, he is cheerful. That also doesn't make sense. You're saying, hey, the reason, right, since he is in great trouble, he is cheerful. As though the reason for him to be cheerful is because he is in great trouble. That also doesn't make sense. Even if you take that meaning, Ashima, apart from being in great trouble, he is cheerful. Again is illogical, right? The last one, if I have to write this, right? If I have to put for all, how will I'll have to rephrase the sentence a little bit. So I'll say for all the great trouble he is in, he is still cheerful, right? In spite of him being in great trouble, he is cheerful. Makes sense. For all the great trouble he is in, he is still cheerful. Now that makes sense. For all the great trouble he is in, he is still cheerful, right? Now this is making sense. You can't say the reason he is cheerful is because he is in great trouble, option B is out. You can't say apart from being in great trouble he is cheerful, illogical. In addition to being in great trouble he is cheerful, illogical. He is in great trouble as well as he is cheerful, illogical. So for all the trouble that he is going through, this person is still cheerful. Only C, which is option 3. What about though and although? And though and although is not there in our options only, no? If you are saying, hey, can I use though and although to make logical sense to connect these two sentences? Yes. Although he is in great trouble, he is cheerful. Though he is in great trouble, he is cheerful. Yes, all of that makes sense. I think what we need to kind of figure out for sentence connectors is to be very clear with our definitions or understanding of these conjunctions, right? Since, besides, for, all of these are conjunctions. So it's important for us to understand the meaning that these conjunctions bring in a context, then it becomes easier for us to connect and also keep looking for logic.